All right, imagine this for a second. Something on Earth that's been alive for thousands of years, seen in all empires, crazy weather, maybe even the dawn of sliced bread, who knows?
Those are the kinds of Earthlings we're diving into today. Not just how they live long, but what that teaches us about toughness,
Mhm.
about rolling with the punches, even how to think about life altogether.
It's like they've got secrets evolution whispered just for them, right? And speaking of tough, our first stop is an icon, the bristlecone pine.
Legendary.
5,000 years or older, up in the mountains where most things can't survive a week. That alone is nuts, but...
It's not like it's easy living up there. This isn't some delicate flower pot situation.
Exactly. Brutal conditions, rocky ground, the kind of cold that'd make a polar bear say nope.
And that's the point, isn't it? That environment. It's what made this tree so hardcore to begin with.
So what's in its survival kit? Aside from, 5 millennia of experience.
Well, look at the wood itself. Dense, was super slow, bugs hate it, rot can't touch it.
It's like Mother Nature's fortress.
Exactly. Makes you think, right? What's our version of building ourselves that strong, inside and out?
Instead of wishing for easy lives, maybe it's about being so solid, nothing can knock us down easy. And speaking of slow and steady, this tree takes the cake. We're talking less than an inch a year sometimes.
Ultimate energy saver. Not about speed, but about using what you've got to last.
Meanwhile, most of us are running around like our shoelaces are on fire.
Right.
Mm.
Maybe we need to chill out, learn from the tree. Pacing ourselves is how you actually go the distance.
The bristlecone pine, dropping wisdom since, like, the Bronze Age. Okay, but from the ancient and wise to the straight-up bizarre, how about the immortal jellyfish?
Now that's just showing off.
The name gives it away. This thing basically figured out how to hit reset on getting old.
Transdifferentiation, it's called.
Oh.
Sounds like a mouthful, right?
My brain's already hurting.
But imagine this. Your cells going back in time, young again, like a butterfly turning back into a caterpillar. This weird cellular reset button.
So while we're searching for that fountain of youth, this little blob's out here living its best Benjamin Button life. Talk about making us rethink what's possible. What if it's not just living longer, but tapping into some kind of refresh button we all have hiding in us somewhere?
Now that's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And it's actually what's got scientists so fired up about stem cells.
That's the whole cells that can become anything, right?
Exactly. What if we could harness that, fix what's broken, maybe even turn back the clock a bit? Now, we're nowhere near immortal jellyfish level.
Yeah.
Yet. Plus, even they aren't invincible, let's be real.
Right. Something still eats them, I'm sure.
Exactly. But just the fact they dodge aging like that. Game changer. It's not just adding years, but adding good years, healthy ones. Extending the thriving part, not just existing.
Okay, so we've got the tough tree, the jellyfish that laughs at birthdays. But what about an animal that makes slow and steady an art form? Say hello to the Greenland shark. This thing can cruise past 400 years old. And get this.
Don't tell me.
They don't even hit puberty till they're like 150. Talk about taking your sweet time.
That's the deep ocean for you. But it's all connected. The cold, the darkness, the let's do this really slowly pace of life down there.
Their metabolism's probably like, meh, 1 heartbeat a minute is fine.
Basically. Conserving energy, stretching out that lifespan like it's a never-ending yoga class.
And here we are, stressing about deadlines and to-do lists.
It does make you think, doesn't it? The shark's like, what's the rush? We've got eons.
Maybe they're onto something. Instead of cramming it all in, they're savoring each moment. Well, as much as a shark can savor, I guess.
But that's the beauty of it. It's not about doing more, but experiencing what you do more fully. That's a longevity lesson we could all use.
Deep thoughts from the shark whisperer. I like it. Seriously, though, in our world, that's all go, go, go. Maybe slowing down, iapiki, who knew?
Sometimes the oldest, quietest things have the most to teach us.
We tend to think long life is all about being tough on your own, like that bristlecone pine.
But what about those creatures who figured out that to live a long time, you got to have each other's backs, literally?
Teamwork makes the dream work, even in the animal kingdom. I'm intrigued.
You know I love this stuff. And there's no better example than something called Pando, a clonal colony of aspen trees.
Clonal, meaning what exactly? Are we talking test tubes and labs?
Even cooler. Imagine a whole forest, but it's actually one giant organism.
Yeah.
Of genetically identical trees, all linked underground by this massive root system. Like, they share a circulatory system, kind of.
Hold on, the whole forest is one tree. That's blowing my mind a little bit.
That's just the start. Scientists think this thing, Pando, is something like 80,000 years old. Talk about old growth. But here's where it gets really wild. Because they're all connected, they're constantly sharing resources.
Mhm.
If one part's struggling, disease, drought, whatever, boom, the rest send help. A living, breathing support network.
Okay, that's both beautiful and kind of scary at the same time. Like the forest is looking out for itself in ways we barely understand.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, right? What if humans have been underestimating the power of community all along? Not just for warm fuzzies, but for actual health and longevity.
That's deep, like literally deep roots leading to long lives.
And there's actually a ton of research backing this up.
Mm-hmm.
Strong social ties, close relationships. Turns out that's just as important as diet and exercise when it comes to living longer.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And with longevity, far takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's not just existing longer, it's about making those years rich, meaningful. And that often comes from who we share them with.
Okay, from trees that are their own community to what's even more interconnected than a forest. I'm stumped.
Gotta be coral reefs. Talk about teamwork, making the dream work.
Oh, absolutely. Those underwater cities are mind-blowing. So much going on, so many different creatures. But I'll admit, how it all works is kind of a mystery to me.
It's easy to think of the reef as one big thing, but it's actually this crazy partnership between the coral itself and teeny tiny algae that live inside them. They've got a scientific name that'll make your head spin, but
Let's stick with teeny tiny algae. I think we're good.
works for me. Anyway, those algae, they're like the chefs of the operation, using sunlight to make food, sharing it with the coral, solar-powered roommates, basically.
So everybody wins, right? Algae get a safe space, coral get a free lunch.
You got it. But here's where things get really cool, adaptable even. When times get tough, like ocean's too warm, the coral can actually kick those algae OUT. It's called coral bleaching. And it's a survival tactic, even if it means hitting the reset button on this perfect partnership.
Wow, that's hardcore. So it's like, sorry, roomie, you gotta go. It's me or you right now.
Basically. Brutal, but it works. And if things get better, they can always team up with new algae later. The point is, resilience isn't just about being strong. It's about knowing when to change, how to roll with the punches.
Adaptability, another one of those longevity secrets we could all learn a thing or two about. But speaking of tough times, we kind of have to talk about the big ol' elephant in the room, don't we?
Oh, 100%.
Hmm.
We can't talk about living long without talking about the planet itself. It's not just about squeezing more years out of our lives. It's about making sure those years are even livable in the first place.
Right. What's the point of living to 150 if everything's on fire? Right.
And that's what all these superagers drive home. The trees, the reefs, everything. We're all connected. Our actions have consequences, for better or worse.
It's a heavy thought, but important.
It's a call to action. Learning from these creatures isn't just about selfishly getting more years for ourselves. It's about protecting what we've got so they can keep thriving too. Because without a healthy planet, human longevity, kind of pointless, isn't it?
All right. From forests looking out for themselves to reefs that are basically underwater apartment complexes. Amazing stuff. But for our last stop, let's meet a creature that makes slow living an Olympic sport.
I think you mean the ocean quahog.
The what now?
Ocean quahog, basically, a clam. But not just any clam. This one can live for over 500 years. Puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
500. That's like saying happy birthday with 500 candles. Okay, spill the beans. What's their secret? What are they putting in their clam chowder?
It's less about what they're eating and more about their whole vibe. They're all about that slow, low-energy life.
You mean like even slower than a sloth on a Sunday?
You got it. They live way down deep, cold water, not a lot of food just floating around. So they've evolved to make the most of every single calorie.
So like the ultimate energy efficiency gurus.
Precisely. They stretch out those energy reserves over centuries. Meanwhile, I'm over here needing a second coffee before noon. But it's not just about being energy efficient. Their diet plays a role too.
Oh, here comes the "you are what you eat" lecture.
Always relevant. Think about it. They're filter feeders, mostly eating tiny little plants called phytoplankton. Basically, the ocean's version of a green smoothie, right?
So healthy A&D helps you live for centuries. Maybe I need to rethink my diet.
Something to consider. But the really wild part, their toughness. Ocean quahogs can handle all sorts of crazy conditions. Temperature swinging, not enough salt, even low oxygen that would suffocate most things. They're like the Chuck Norris of clams.
Okay, now I'm impressed. But let's be real, we can't all hold our breath for hours on end and live off seaweed. So what's the takeaway for us land dwellers? How do we learn from that kind of resilience?
It all comes back to something we keep bumping into. Interconnectedness. The ocean quahog, the planet, even us. We're all linked. Their toughness, that's a sign of a healthy system, everything in balance. But it's also a warning. We mess that up with pollution, with climate change. It's not just the clam that suffers, it's everything.
So, taking care of our planet IS, taking care of ourselves. Not exactly a new idea, but coming from a 500-year-old clam, it hits different. You know, it's like they're saying, we figured out how to thrive, but you're messing with our groove, guys. And they'd be right. But there's hope, right? We started this whole deep dive amazed by creatures that make our lifespans look like a coffee break, trees that've seen it all, jellyfish that can hit the rewind button, sharks that make meditation an extreme sport.
And clams that put our smoothie obsession to shame, let's not forget.
Exactly. But the point is, looking at how they do it, that's where the real gold is. It's not just about some magic gene or fountain of youth. It's so much bigger.
It's about connections. It's about rolling with the punches, respecting this planet we're all sharing. Almost like a whole different way of thinking about life, not just how long we get to live it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's not just about years on the calendar, but what we pack into those years, the impact we have for ourselves, for each other, for the world around us. That's longevity with a capital L.
So as we wrap up this wild ride through the world of Earth's oldest residents, one question remains. What else is out there? What other secrets of resilience, of longevity are just waiting to be discovered if we know where to look?
And more importantly, what will we do with those discoveries? The answers aren't just in a lab, they're all around us if we open our eyes and our minds to them.
This has been The Deep Dive, urging you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and maybe take a cue from a bristlecone pine every now and then. Slow down, enjoy the ride, and remember, we're all in this together. See you next time.
Until then, happy exploring.